Like I said, it's the light.
It's the light
Yeah.
and the temperature.
Or
Yeah.
lack thereof. It was hot. All right,
Oh, I know.
so we are YouTube live. Let me turn this around so I can see it.
Feeling a little bit.
There we go.
Well, it was
Okay.
5 o'clock it was.
So we're gonna start out
Stuff in it can grow.
with the purple block. Does everybody have a purple block?
I got a green one.
You got a green one? Use your cord block if you don't have a purple.
Okay.
I'll give one of you the purple. Doesn't really make much difference. It's a half inch more narrow. So it fits a little easier, but not much for this purpose. For standing on, it's a little different. Put the cord block between the legs, and then, let's see, I get another purple one. Okay, and then bring your cord blocks or your green blocks to the top of the mat.
The beige one's okay?
Yep, cork's fine. I'm just doing the green instead of the cork, and I'm doing the cork instead of the purple. So the purple block is just because it's 3 inches instead of this is 3.5. Doesn't matter. It's a little easier between the legs, but otherwise, no biggie. Okay, so once you got your block between your legs, stand with your feet about block width apart, which should end up being pretty close to hip width apart. A little closer together. Good. Okay, and then take your heels about 1 inch wider than your toes, maybe just a ½ inch. So you're slightly pigeon-toed. Think of inner spiraling your legs. The same muscle, the adductor magnus that pulls the legs together, adducts, also helps inner spiral. It's a really big muscle behind quads, between quads and hamstring, basically. Try to feel not squeezing your block, but just spiraling softly in and back. Then unlock your knees a little bit, lift the low belly up. Good, keep your body weight forward. So if you're leaning back, you can't lift your low belly up because you're already in your heels. You're going to close sitting bones there. We don't want that. Stay forward in the feet. Feel the front of the feet, put the brakes on to stop you from falling. Then lift low belly up. Good. Now I don't care if shoulders round a little bit right now. I just want you to feel that. Keep glutes released. Feel like you're rolling to the inner foot and pulling them out apart while keeping that soft inner spiral and a little lift in the belly. Good. From here, take your hips back. Arms right next to the body. Bend the knees a little bit, and we're going to take a flat back to start. Breathe, inhale. As you exhale, keep the low belly lifted. Round your shoulders forward and let the head drop. And roll the shoulders right up and back again. Open the chest. Good. Do it again. Round shoulders forward. Lift your belly up as you inhale. Top of the head forward. Exhale, roll the shoulders back, but don't bring the head up. Feel lengthen the neck. Do it again. Inhale, roll the shoulders forward. Lift the belly. Exhale, roll the shoulders back, hold. Bend the knees a little deeper. Try to bring your hips so that your thighs are parallel to the floor, trying to turn on the quads. Okay, then let's sweep the arms forward, hips back, as far as you can take them. See if you can lift the toes up a teeny bit off the mat. Good, then spread your toes out, bring them back down. Feel like you're grabbing the mat with the toes. Press into the feet, bring your hips up, drop your head down, forward fold. Breathe. As you exhale, try to feel that inner spiral a little bit more. You can keep the knees a little bent and still spiral the legs. Feel like your inner heel is coming into the mat and then pulling heels apart. Horizontally, isometrically on the mat. Feel how that helps open the femurs away from the tailbone, away from the sitting bones. Okay, keep the head dropped. One more breath here. Then as you exhale, come to tented fingers, or you can come hands to blocks, either one. Bend the knees, dropping the hips a little deeper. Don't squeeze the block hard, but think roll the groin muscles in and down to the floor. Then suck the belly up off the thighs. A little bit of low belly lift. Good. One more time. Go ahead and start straightening legs. Drop your head. Hips feel like they're going high. Shift into the front of the feet. Dare yourself to shift far enough forward that you're going to fall on your head. You have some weight in your hands. Then feel your toes take that weight back out of your hands again. Heels pull the mat apart, sitting bones open. Inhale again, flat back, come up to fingertips or blocks. Exhale, bend the elbows, get long in your core as you start your fold. Pull the ribs as far down the thighs as you can. Floating ribs touching thighs as far away from the front of hips as you can. Let your head hang. Now let your shoulders hang. That means the shoulder blades will slide up the side of the rib cage towards the floor. That's okay. That's not your neck engaged. Now lift your shoulders up away from the ears, so up the ribs toward the hips. Feel the neck get longer. Good. Keeping that, you'll feel your serratus engaged. Come to fingertips. you're flat back with the serratus engaged, then pick your ribs up a little bit into shoulder girdle. There you go. Keep that core engagement. Now keeping that, bend the knees. See how far you can bend the knees without your heels lifting. Good. And then press into the feet, bring it back up. Good. Should feel quads turning on a little. Now hands to blocks. Blocks right under the shoulders. All three knuckles of the thumb on the inside of the block, the fingers spreading. Okay. Drop your chest down into the shoulder girdle. Let your pelvic bowl softly drop as well. So let the hips drop. Don't keep squeezing. Put a baby bend in your knees. Think of your pubic bone reaching back as far behind the hips as you can. Top of the head in line. Bless you. Inhale here. As you exhale, feel your serratus very softly pull the shoulders away from ears. And it'll feel like you're pulling the blocks back to you and pulling the hands down into the blocks from here, from where the serratus are, the little finger-like muscles along the rib cage. Okay, keeping the serratus, can you let hips hang further back? You're going to get a little light in the toes. See if the toes can grab the mat. Good. Come back forward. Hips should be turning on a little bit. Okay, shift into your left foot. Suck the low belly up. Pick up your right hip. Right foot's going to hover off the floor from the hip. Shoulder blades back, back of the neck long. Lift the ribs a little too. Bring it back down. Switch. Roll to the inner arch of your right foot. Pick up your right low belly, then lift the left low belly higher, pushing down into the right foot. Bring it back down. One more on the right. Pick up the right hip. See if you can hold. Drop your ribs down into the shoulder girdle, and then pick them back up. Just moving through the shoulder girdle. Drop the rib cage down. Pick them back up. Hold. Put the foot down. Switch. Pick your left leg up. Can you keep that hip isolated and then isolate the ribs from that? Drop your ribs down. Pick them back up. The movement should be in shoulder blades. Two more. Drop it down. Pick it up. Suck the belly up out of the foot. Drop it down. Push into your big toe, literally, and pick up your right low belly and bring it back to the mat. Good. Bend the knees a little bit. Sitting bones reach back again. See how far back your hips can go. You should feel like you're going to tip back. Blocks want to tip. But instead of tipping, you pull shoulders back a little. Top of the head long. Think of the heels, inner heels, pulling them out apart. Pull sitting bones open. Then pick up your middle abs just a touch. Unlock the back. Don't shove the pelvic bowl down. Pick that up a little too. So your back feels more open. Good. And come back forward. Good. Bring the arms back behind you. Interlace fingers if you can reach. Pull the hands up. If you have, you know you have tight shoulders, let your hands pull apart so you're just holding the fingers and the hands open a little bit. And then drop overhead that way. Your hands have to pass 90 degrees. They have to pass perpendicular to the floor. They have to be able to go here. If you can't do that with hands, get your TheraBand. Bring it behind you. Hold on to it much wider and drop back. Now you got to be able to have your hands drop past the point where gravity's going to start helping stretch your shoulders with you releasing. Okay? Now everybody bend your knees until your ribs can rest on your thighs. Keep the head hanging. Keep the hands hanging back. Feel your shoulder heads roll a little forward toward the jaw. And then roll the shoulders back, reach hands for the ceiling. Squeeze the hands together when you can. Pick your chest up. Hold with shoulder blades squeezing up. Push into feet a little, suck the belly up. Good. And then flatten it back out. Come right back down. Drop the arms overhead with your TheraBand or with your hands, whatever you've got. Inhale. Exhale, tip into the front of the feet. Don't come up yet. See if you can straighten legs a little more with ribs attached to thigh. Heels pulling apart, hands pulling apart. Then roll the shoulders up and back. Top of the head hanging. Bend your knees, sit deep. Sweep the arms forward, hips back. Good. Bring your right elbow to your left thigh, left knee. Left hand on top of it in prayer. Push the left hand down into the right hand to pick your ribs up. So really push into your prayer. Okay, suck the low belly up. Use your feet. Press into the big toes. Turn tail under. And then take it back as long as you can. Top of the head forward. Do it again. Lift the middle abs. Good. And then take it all the way back. Last one. Lift the middle abs. Take it all the way back. Inhale, stand it up. Quads talking to you. Exhale, hands in prayer. How are we doing? Nobody's
Good.
back hurts?
Low back.
Feel
It's-
the middle back?
Yeah, or
Okay.
low back.
Low back?
Yeah, so
Okay, are
maybe
you feeling
hips.
the low
So
belly support and the hips letting go?
yeah.
Okay, you gotta pay attention to whether the sitting bones are trying to squeeze in on the block. Keep the sitting bones open and lift the belly. Do you feel that when you're standing?
Yeah.
Okay, when you go into your posture, keep the belly lifted, keep the ribs softly neutral. So they're not really open, but they're not lifted or up really high either. Because I'm looking at your movements, they're big in your shoulder girdle. When we're dropping ribs down, you're coming as far down as you can. When you're coming up, you're coming up. Find the happy medium, make the movements a lot smaller. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Inhale, arms up. Find the same thing we started with. Roll to your inner foot just a little. Spread the toes, grab them out with the pinky side of the foot. Inner spiral legs. Block feels like it's going back. Unlock knees, weight forward, sitting bones apart. Bring your hands down into prayer. Press these two thumb knuckles into each other. Reach elbows forward. Suck middle abs back a little bit. Good. That should protect and feel good on the back. Very nice. Okay, start bending the knees. Keep this shape. Don't tuck your tail under by squeezing sitting bones in. That puts a lot of pressure in low back. Keep that release. Just lifting low belly. Good. As you come down, bring your right hand to the right thigh. Press it across. Left elbow comes across to come into prayer on the right leg. Right hand into left. Bring that elbow wide. Spread your fingers out. Push thumbs into thumbs. Pick your ribs up by pushing down. Right hand into left. Lift your middle abs. Feel your feet help direct the hips. And then flatten out the back. Top of the head forward. Do it again. Pick up middle belly. You're rounding in your twist. And then flatten softly, but don't try to arch the back. One more time. Push to the right hand to help you round. And flatten. Inhale up through center. All that stuff we said, inner foot, inner spiral legs, bend knees, low belly sucks in, come down, right elbow, left knee. Push your left hand into your prayer, lift your ribs up, use your feet. Think of tipping the heels a little and pick up the belly out of the hips, push into the feet. Then flatten the back out again. Do it again, pick up the belly out of the hips, flatten it back out. You should feel both shoulder blades move around ribs. Pick it up, shoulder blades hollow too, collarbone hollows here. Flatten it out, inhale, last one, even it up. Get long, keep low belly lifted. So your tailbone doesn't turn under because we squeeze glutes and push forward. It moves because low belly lifts and drops pelvic bowl back. Okay, come down, keep that low belly lifted, pelvic bowl slightly back. Left elbow, right knee, hands in prayer, push down, right hand to left. Suck the belly up softly. Don't include the front of the hips. Flatten it back out. So don't squeeze the front of the hips tighter, lift. Think of knees opening away from the block, lift the belly. And then flatten it out. Good, inhale through center. And exhale towards the back. How are we doing? Good, hey, get ready to block. Good job. All right, so definitely should be working already. Hands back to your blocks. Should feel really good to split the legs apart now. Back foot steps back. Right foot forward outside the right block. Turn it out about maybe 45 degrees, maybe only 10 degrees. Your knee has to be able to bend outside of the foot. So if your foot's turned out to here and your knee's in, that's really torquing the knee. You're only going to open the foot as much room as you have to open your hip. Okay? Here we go. Keep the back leg strong. Try to straighten the front leg here too. Okay? If you use glute blocks for anything, use them for this. Okay, keep the back foot strong. Slowly lower the heel. Try to feel your back quad lift away from the kneecap. That's a new one. Push through the toes, come back up. Really push through all the toes evenly. Try to feel both quads suck up away from the kneecap. Okay, and then lower the heels slowly. Release your glutes and your hips because they're probably helping your quads. Do it again. Push through the toes. Really come high in the toes. Try to feel the quads suck up, firming up into the low belly. Then bend the front knee a little bit. Open it out to the side. Put a little bit of weight into the front leg. That push back is your quad. Let it be only that. Release the hip. It doesn't need to help. Bend the knee a little bit wider. Keep your back quad strong. It's trying to pull the back leg back as your front knee comes forward into a split sort of here. Put a soft bend in elbows if you can go deeper. Keep dropping the hips. Keep that back foot strong. Back leg pretty straight. Quad lifting the thigh. Good. Push through the front leg. That's your quad. Don't let it be your hip too. Keep the hip open. Come on back. Let's try it again. So separating quads from hips. Tough one. Lift your quad away from the knee. Outer spiral leg a little bit, front leg. Pick your back hip up just a touch. Don't let it drop too far forward. Make it neutral. Bend the front knee. Keep the quads pulling away from each other. Look at the top of the leg. Keep the hip open. keep the back foot strong and the back leg pretty straight as you drop into your hip stretch. It will protect your low back a little. Push into the front foot to come back up. Good. Now roll your left hip open. Keep the quad lifting on the right leg. Roll back forward, keep quad lifting, and then let it go. See if your hip is holding too. Roll it open. Good. Roll the left hip forward. Think the left frontal hip coming into right groin. Pick your ribs up into the shoulder girdle. Lift the belly. Then roll it open, keeping the ribs lifted. Then let your ribs softly drop. Then pick them back up. Keep the belly up. Picking up out of the front of this hip. Roll the left hip forward. Good. Now bring your left hip to neutral. Bend the right knee out to the right. Feel pressure in your right foot, like you're really holding on to the mat with that foot. Spread the toes out. Keep that knee open and keep your back quad strong, back toes strong, back foot strong. Sit down into your deepest pose here. You can let the back leg unlock a little with the back knee down. Good. How are we doing? Nice feeling that a little bit? Okay. Keep the hip dropping into the mat. You can put left block right under the left shoulder and stiff arm it. Let your hip and ribs hang out of that shoulder blade. Your right arm can just rest on your knee. I don't care where it goes. Actually, if you do take it to the knee, open that knee away. Let your left hip drop deeper. Feels good, right? Okay. Let your foot roll to the pinky side. You're basically letting the foot sickle, that front foot for the moment. Notice how that lets your hip release a little more. Okay. Then keep the hip open. Try to use your toes to come back down without closing the knee. Feel opposition there. Inner foot away from outer hip. Good. And then press through the leg, bring it back. Spread out the toes. Reach the blocks. If you keep your left block short, reach your right block as far as you can, pulling the hip back. Think flat back.
Right hip or left hip? Hip back.
Right hip back, right arm forward. So you're trying to open up the whole right side. Spread your right toes, try to lift your quad a little. And then let that go. Push down into heel a little. Good. And then come back forward. Bend the front knee again, drop hips into that stretch. Don't let your pelvic bone push hard forward. That's your back flexing. That's what I'm trying to keep you away from. Instead, lift your low belly. Play with the back foot. So put the top of the foot into the mat. I want you to push down in the back leg, maybe even hard enough to pick the leg off the ground. Now pick your belly up out of the front of the hips. Good. Feel your back safe there? Yeah. Okay, slowly lower the knee back down and let the hip release, but don't let your back squish your lumbar spine. Don't push into that super hard. Okay, tuck the toes. Same thing. When you come up, it should feel just like it did pushing the top of the foot down. Quad helps straighten the leg. Push through the front foot, bring your hips back. Step back to a high plank. How are we doing? Take the ribs up a little bit. Push through your toes. Maybe you can even roll all the way over the toes to the tops of the feet. Keep the tops of the feet pushing. Here's where you need quad to protect your low back. You need low belly to lift, ribs to lift. Then roll back over the toes. Good job. Surprised how many of you did that. Bring your left knee forward, turn it out, step outside your blocks. Good job, guys. Very impressive. Keep left toes turned out 45 degrees, same spiel as before. The knee should go outside the foot. Don't turn your foot wider than your knee is capable of opening, wider than your hip is capable of opening. Push through the front leg. Feel that muscles pull. So that press is really a pull from your quad, straightening the leg. This is your quad. Well, there's four heads, right? But feel that shorten up away from the knee, sucking up as you go back. Push into the back leg. Feel that sucking up. So there's a lot of upward action from the floor. Now roll the right hip open. Good. And then pull left hip back, roll right hip forward. Keep the ribs long on both sides. Do it again. Roll the right hip open. That doesn't give you license to squish your left shoulder down to the hip. Keep your left ribs open. Left side of the ribs cannot squish. Roll right hip forward. Keep both sides of the ribs open. Do it again. Roll right hip open. Don't squish left ribs. Keep the left side of your ribs open. Almost feels like you're moving your ribs to the left a little. Good. And then roll the right hip back forward again. Good. Bend the left knee a little bit. Try to straighten through that right leg till you feel your quad, not your glute. Your glute does not straighten your leg. Okay, start bending the front leg. Keep the back leg strong. Keep the back foot strong. Feel that right up through your psoas, that muscle that runs from pelvic bowl to inside the ribs. Deep in the core. Push through the left leg. That's left quad pulling. Roll it back open again. Don't let your ribs crunch up. Don't go into your neck here. Serratus stay engaged. That shoulders away from ears. Roll right hip forward. Keep the right quad lifting. Left quad lifting too if you can. Bend the left knee. A lot harder to keep quad lifting away from you with the bended. Start dropping. Keep the back leg strong. Good job, guys. Good. And bring it back up. One more time. Roll the right hip open. Lift the left quad as much as the right. Roll right hip forward. Think of your feet pulling them out apart, sitting bones open. Then bend your left knee open wider. Think of your left sitting bone coming away from the left femur. Keep the right quad strong. Sit down a little deeper. You can bend elbows. Put the back knee down. Good. Go ahead and sit back. Let that front foot come off the mat a little bit here. Spread the toes and reach. Keep your left block back, or your right block back, bring your left block way out in front, dragging sitting bone back. So you're literally trying to pull your tailbone and your bone at the bottom of the pelvis back, away from the femur in this leg. Heel gets stuck to the mat and it feels like it's getting pressed down into the mat. At the same time, lift the quad out of that. Spread your left shoulder blade forward while pulling back in the hip. Good length, guys. If you feel hyperextension in the back of the knee, not good. That's what lifting the quad will save you from. Bring it back up, put the foot down. Good. Put your right block right under the right shoulder. Lean into that. Let the hip release. When you put the block under the shoulder blade will get driven up the ribs. That's okay though. It's not an engagement in the neck. It's because gravity's pulling hip and ribs down. That's good. Left arm can rest on the leg. And then let's use that to push the left leg away a little bit. Okay. Keep resting into that right hip stretch, right psoas. I'm also running deep, right up in here. Okay, roll to the outer arch of your left foot. See if that doesn't help you wrap that hip under you a little bit more. Okay, then keeping the hip open, come back down to inner foot, spreading the toes, but keep that hip open. Feel right hip forward a little. Good, bring your hands back to your block. Come to the middle. Put the top of the back foot on the mat. See if you can press hard enough into that leg. It's quad, so don't squeeze your glute here. That's going to weigh you back down. So if you have to pick ribs up to take some weight out of it, do that. Pick low belly up, and then quad pushes into the top of the foot. You should feel the hip open more. If your glute is flexed here, it's going to shove you down. That doesn't feel good. Pick ribs up, pick belly up. Good, bring it back down. Good, and you don't have to lift far either. If you really do this right, you can make it harder by bringing hips back. If you bring hips back, you may be less likely to flex your glute, because you're really going to work in the quad. But that's okay. That's what you're trying to do. Okay? Because you're putting more weight right above this knee. Right? So if you want to make sure you're in quad and not glute, you can even round, push into the top of the foot. A little hard on the ankle. All right, tuck your toes. Now when you pick up the back leg, it's the same thing. Don't squeeze your glute in the front of the hip. Same thing as we did before. Keep a little lift in your core and reach through your quad. Good. You guys feeling the difference there? Push through the front leg. Roll the hip open. So quads get a bad rap because they lead into hip flexors, and a lot of times they tighten the hips, but they don't necessarily have to. Okay, go ahead and roll the hip back forward. Step your left foot back. If they do their job and they do it in isolation, they actually can help open the hip. Pick your ribs up first. The higher you dome the ribs by pushing into hands, not by trying to pull with hips. Then feel the feet pull the mat apart. Feel your hands pull your blocks apart a little. Pick up the belly higher. Good. And then slowly lower the knees down to the mat. How we doing? Working, right? Good. Blocks forward. Little baby down dog. Your hips are way back. You should be almost one flat line from hips to hands before you drop your head through your arms. If you know you can't get your head to the mat in this stretch, bring your blocks to second level, push them forward, or use a third block under your forehead when you come down. Okay, head has to touch a surface so that your arms will release. Also, when you come down into this stretch, just coming down flat will give you a stretch. But if you're holding and your elbows are trying to wrap out to the sides, you're really in your neck, that's no good. So everybody come up for a minute. Bring your blocks back. Let's play with the alignment in the arms first. Outer spiral your arms. That means the biceps face forward. Then pick up the belly a little. Then start sitting back. Biceps still face forward. Suck the belly back. We're going to stay rounded right now. Biceps still face forward. Feel how serratus are holding. They're pulling down into your blocks. You guys feel that?
Yeah.
Biceps still face forward. Biceps still face forward. Now drop your head through your arms. You don't get to put weight into that unless biceps are still facing forward the whole time. If you can find that, then you can go back to the harder way, which is blocks way out in front. Outer spiral arms, and drop chest down with that alignment still there. To check your alignment once you're back, and you really want knees to be back so ribs can drop back toward knees, not sitting on knees. Once you're there, you can try to bend your elbows down toward the mat. They should be able to touch the mat, and then come right back up again. And you know you've got the right rotation. If you bend your elbows and they wing out to the sides, no good. All right, bring it back up. How are we doing? Everybody's alive. Good. Bring your blocks back. Good. Tuck the toes. Stand it up. Feet hip width apart. Maybe a little less. Heels a tiny bit wider than toes. And I want the blocks pretty much right under shoulders and feet right under hips. Okay? Then go ahead and tip hips back behind the feet. Good. How far back can you go there? Lift your quads up away from knees if you can find that. Toes grab the mat. Feel your heels. Pull the mat apart. Lift your belly up a little bit. Shoulders away from ears. Yep, that's you. Good. Inhale. Keep the serratus engaged as you tip back. Good job. Bend your left knee forward. Keep the right hip that far back. Maybe it goes further. Switch. Straighten the left leg first. Then bend right knee forward. Left hip stays that far back. Bring it up. Ribs stay open on both sides. Switch. Right leg back. Left hip forward. Feel quads lift away from knee. Switch. Okay, now pick up your toes. Both hips still back. Toes up. Heavy. Pick the quads up. Heels pull them out apart. Ball of the foot pulls them out apart. Toes spreading. Good. Bring your right toes down. Spread them across the mat. Feel your right hip release more. Bring your left toes down. Spread them out. Feel your left hip release more. Bend both knees. Good job. All right, very nice, guys. Let's go ahead and keep the blocks under the shoulders. Bring your left hip up. Low belly lifting. Good. Bring the leg forward. And then sweep the leg straight back. Open up your hip to face left. Okay? Keeping the hip open now, tip back. Hip behind the heel. How far back can you reach? If you don't keep your serratus pulled back, you're not going to go very far back. At the same time, reach the back leg higher. Good. Now roll your left hip down. Try to stay with your right hip behind the heel. How far down can you let your left hip come? Keep serratus back. Top of the head forward. Feel that right hip hug back away from ribs, like you're spinning heel in, toes out on the mat. Do it again. When you roll up, don't close up those right ribs. Drop the hip back. If it's not rolled under you, you won't go far. Pick the leg up. Maybe you have your balance here, and you can start bringing your left arm up, opening the chest. Full half move. Shoulder blades are pulling down the body. Ribs are in the back of the body a little bit. Spread the toes out with both quads. Find your breath. If you're here, bring the arm to the leg. Drop your hip down. Try to find warrior 3 with one hand. And bring the hand to your block. Put the back foot down. Turn the heel in, toes out. If you know you're tight in the hips, widen your front foot by heel toeing it to the right. If you know you're easy in the hips, you can have a heel-to-heel alignment, meaning heels on a tightrope. Bring your blocks back just a touch so they're about 6 inches in front of the foot. Roll back into your left hip. Keep the serratus engaged and the ribs open on the right side. Let the head drop. Then shift your weight forward. Left hip will automatically start to roll forward if you let your ribs go forward. If you keep your back really tight, hips will just wag side to side. So you got to get longer in your ribs. Then rock back, weight in the back, but stay long in your ribs. Don't let that right hip come out to the right. Shift forward, stay long in your ribs. Feel that natural rolling through the hips. Okay, stay back. Roll to the outer arch of both feet. I don't care if they both single. Feel how your hips can release a little wider. Stay in the outer arch of the front foot. Come back down with your back foot. Now shift your weight forward. Roll the back hip forward. Feel how your front hip can roll out and back. Good. Feel that length in the right side. Roll the foot down. Now shift onto the foot with your weight. Spin the back heel to face back. Wiggle your foot back until you have one leg's length between the feet. Bend the back knee. Front leg staying straight. You should end up knee-to-knee alignment. You can bring your blocks back if you feel like you need more stability. Pick your ribs up into the shoulder girdle. Hips stay even. Suck the belly back. Top of the head forward. Back foot should be working. Back quad should be working. Slowly lower down, lifting the front heel up or the front toes up. Maybe you can bring hands to the mat and slowly come down sitting on that heel. Good job. If you were one leg's length, the leg should be straight. Too short a stance, you're not going to make it down. Okay. If you can make it here, see if you can lift the leg up. Low belly lifting. Good job. If you want to go further, see if you put your heel down, soft, and then suck low belly and come up and balance. Not happening. All right, one more take is bring the heel back to the floor, come back to the toes of the left foot. You can use hands, but when you come up, I want you to feel this quad. Don't clench the hip, that won't help you. Little burst from hands, little push, like you're stabbing inner foot down into the mat to come up. All right. Good. All right, go ahead and walk your blocks back forward. Shift your weight forward, bring the back leg up. Back to the beginning. Roll your left hip down. Think of your inner, or your left frontal hip coming to your right groin. That rolling in, dropping left hip below the right, should help you drop right hip back further. At the same time, let your foot roll just barely to the outer foot. Don't go far, you'll fall. Now that lets the hip open more. Now lift your belly a touch. Roll back to the inner foot, but keep the hip that far open. And then re-square the hip. Bring it down. Good. You guys finding some different muscles in the hip here? Finding the relationship between the foot and the hip here. All right, side two. Go ahead and bring the serratus away, shoulder blades away from the ears. Top of the head forward. Think of the chin coming up into your own throat. Top of the head, crown of the head reaching forward. Then release the hips. If you have to bend the knees to let your pubic bone soften back, then do that. But at the same time, keep low belly lifting out of the front of the pelvic bowl. Think of the pelvic bowl here as a little hula hoop. Try to keep your core engaged inside of that without touching any edges. Same with the ribs. Okay, here we go. Go ahead and pick up the right hip now. Low belly lifting. Good. Extend your right leg back. Okay, try to drop the left hip back behind the heel further. If your serratus don't stay engaged, pulling back, you don't have an anchor to keep you from falling and you can't go very far. Roll to the outer arch of your left foot a touch. See if that doesn't help you wrap your left hip back more. Don't go too far, you're only on that foot. Okay? And then roll your right hip back down. Right frontal hip coming to left groin. Left hip should be able to hug back that way. Roll to outer left foot a little here, just a touch. Let that hip open more. Pick your ribs up a little. Suck the belly up. Spread your right toes out. Engage the right quad. That leg's not dead. Roll to left foot again. Roll your right hip back up. Open up the hip. Don't bring your left hip to the shoulder or shoulder to hip. Keep left ribs open. Rock back. Keep the serratus engaged. Good. If you're stable here, maybe you can bring that right arm up. Opening chest. Find your half moon. Don't let your right leg drift back to the left. Notice the foot making little adjustments. Feel that all the way up to low belly. Breathe. Spread the toes out. Reach it back. Good job, guys. Bring the hand to the leg. Leg level with the body. Roll the whole right side down. Think warrior three. Reach through both heels. Find both quads lifting out of the knee. Bring your hand back down. Good. How are we doing? Roll your right hip, frontal hip into the left. Let that hip release again in case you overworked it. This should be a release. When right hip drops down, left hip back, that's a release. Okay, go ahead and re-square the hips. Step the right foot pretty far back behind you. Bring your blocks back to maybe 6 inches in front of the foot. Turn your right heel in. Okay, so again, if you're really tight in the hips and you know it's going to be hard for your hips to square on a dime, take the feet wider. Heel toe your left foot open so you have more room for your hips to roll back and forth. If you're not super tight and you want to feel a lot of rolling through the hips, keep the heels on one straight line. Okay? Go ahead and shift your weight to the back foot. Everybody notice if you're picking your back head up or pulling shoulders to ears, you gotta let that go. Just the opposite. Serratus pull back, which puts more weight into the hands like you're pulling blocks back with the shoulder blades. Top of the head forward, chin into your own throat. Roll to both outer feet. Feel your hips open more. Low belly is free from the front of the hips. Stay in the outer left foot. Start shifting weight forward. Ribs stay long as you come forward. Feel your right hip drops a little below the left hip. Okay, you can flatten left foot, but don't let the hip close. Keep serratus engaged. Roll back. Put your weight into the back foot. Roll to the outer front foot, though. Keep that left hip back. It's that sort of rolled under you. Don't let your hip come to your shoulder. Okay, shift your weight forward. Just feel that rolling through the hips. The ribs have to be long forward, top of the head forward too, or hips won't move. Shift back. Sorry, that's my phone. Roll forward. And then shift back. Good. Go ahead and roll forward. Stay there. Spin onto the toes of the right foot. Make sure your one leg's length. So this is what happens if you're too short. Okay, if I try to sit back like this, I mean, I guess you can do it, but it's getting really difficult, okay? If you have a full leg's length, it starts to be a lot easier to shift to the heel. You don't feel like you want to bend that front knee as much. So try to be a leg's length, maybe a touch shorter. All right, stay high on the foot. Bend the knee. If you're truly a leg's length, you should end up about knee to knee here. And then blocks can come back. Push through your hands to support rib cage coming up. Don't tuck and squeeze glutes. Let your hips go. Keep ribs picked up. Lift your belly up. Think about the groin muscles coming a little bit in, but instead of really adducting, inner spiraling and lift your belly. Okay. Go ahead and start sitting down into that back leg. Hands can come to the mat to help you pick the toes up, flex the front heel. Good. If you can get here, take that foot up from the core. Good. You really want to be fancy and balance here. So struggle with that. All right, put your heel down, and you can come to balance here. Okay, left everybody behind. Bring your heel to the mat. Now, stay on this heel. The sitting bone should be touching the heel, or as close as your hips will allow. When you come up, it's quad. It's not the knee heavy. It should be the quad. You're going to put a little burst through hands pressing. Do not squeeze your glutes together. That'll make it harder and heavier. Press through the foot and come up. Good. All right. Very good job, guys. Step up. So sorry. Wait. Blocks forward first. You want a torso length in there. Shift forward, pushing off that foot. Roll the right frontal hip down. It's got to drop below the left hip. More. Drop it down. There we go. There should be an inner spiral. Inner spiral your right leg. Your right groin should be facing the ceiling. Left hip can roll back. Roll the outer left foot a touch. Unlock the knee that you're standing on. Good. And then re-straighten the leg. Open up the hip one last time and bring it back down. Good job. Open the feet. Bring blocks to the mat. Stack them up. Have a seat. How we doing? Living? Finding this stuff a little bit? Okay, so separating quads from hip flexors and low belly, something that I'm just finding clients don't do, and it's helping a lot of people lately to look for that. It's the first time I'm cueing it today, so it may sound a little odd or feel a little weird, but the muscles only pull, right? So if your arm's going to bend, bicep pulls, if it's going to straighten, tricep pulls. Muscles don't push, they can't do it, right? So your quad, if you're really going to use it, it straightens the leg. But the hip flexor pulls the leg up. We don't need that. If the leg's already straight, everybody straighten the leg out. Just try to use your quad to shorten away from the knee and away from the hip. You guys feel that a little bit?
How do you do that?
Yeah. Right? Flex your foot really hard. Now try to almost hyperextend your leg. You'll feel your quad flex. You feel a lot of other stuff flex too.
Yes.
Keep the leg, let the foot go. Feel how your quad releases a little bit? Okay, now keep the ankle flexed. Now go ahead and do the opposite. Point the ankle, keep toes flexed. Still feel your quad a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay? Now point your toes hard. Good, still feel your quad? Now hold the hands on the other leg and slouch so the front of the hip releases. Feel softening in space here. Keep your quad. Now open your toes again. Quad hardens a little more. Just starting to feel that a little bit? Okay, so the space here, while the quad is engaged, that's what I'm after. Okay, it does a lot in standing postures too. Okay, let's do the other leg. And when you let it go, you feel that was working, that was talking to you. Now if you feel this starting to cramp, now we're in the other world, that world.
Is that what moves your kneecap kind of back and forth? Okay.
That and the connective tissue.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some there's some tendons, I mean that's the connective tissue, and the
Yeah.
IT vent comes in there, yeah. All right, let's try the left leg. Okay? Let's start by releasing the hip flexor this time, because once it's engaged along with the quad, it's really hard to pick them apart. So interlace the fingers, she's already doing it back there. Hang back. Let your ribs release. Don't pull back. That's not going to do it. If you pull back hard, your hip flexor is like, whoa, I don't want to fall. So hang back, right? Softly bring your low belly back. Think of your legs as rolling, this leg rolling in a little. Okay, and feel low belly pull out of the front of the hip. Good. Notice if your hip flexor is trying to be your rotator, which it's not. Let it go if it is. Okay. Do it again. Low belly sucks back. Don't roll if your hip flexor was helping. Okay. Flex the foot. Feel your quad engaged. Try to do that with low belly sucking away from quad. Anybody getting that? Kind of? No? Go ahead and point the toes all the way. Harden the whole leg down the line. Good. Now suck the belly back soft. Now think inner spiral a little. Now keeping the quad, think outer spiral a little, opening the front of the hip but still feeling the quad. How are we doing? Getting that a little bit. That makes space in the front of the hip. Open your toes but keep the ankle pointed.
Mine's not listening to me.
Right.
It's going.
You feel that quad go and let them go.
Yeah.
So right now what you're experiencing is the quad, when you're telling it to flex, it's bundled with a bunch of other stuff. We want to unbundle All right, let's go ahead and take your right leg back. We'll play with engaging the quad in different shapes too. It's my new favorite toy, so you'll hear about it in the next couple weeks. All right, keep the leg back. Other foot a little wide. We've done this a bunch of times. Bring the body inside the leg. And you're going to bring your left elbow in front of your left shin. Plant your hand into the floor. So from the front, the upper arm blocks the shin back. Hand is right under elbow. Upper arm is trying to be 90 degrees. You have to really try to drop chest inside that leg. Dropping the rib cage inside the groin. Okay? From there, you're going to use your, well, first you're going to use your left shoulder blade, left serratus to plug the shoulder back. Feel how that pushes your knee back. Let it push your hip back. Okay? Right elbow's wide too. Now press into the top of the right foot. Feel that engage your quad a little bit, but don't squeeze your hips back together. They don't need to. And that's going to be enough to pick your hips up off your block. Okay, there you go. Once you're up, you'll still feel that quad activated a little. Roll the left shoulder blade back more, ribs forward further. Sit down a little deeper into that stretch. Okay, maybe you're good here. The whole point is to feel opposition. The serratus pull the hip back by pulling the shoulder blade back. Upper arm pins the leg back. At the same time, your ribs are long and forward. We're opening up that left side. Okay, roll to your outer left foot. See if that doesn't let your hip drop a little further back. Okay, now see if you can wiggle that foot out of there, come into the arm balance prep. Okay, so your left elbow's on the hand. If you lean left, you may be able to bring your right hand back. Push into the top of the right foot a little to pick hips up, and notice how that pushes you forward. Now roll the shoulders back against that. Good, bring your hand back to the mat, bring your foot back to the mat, and sit back. Good, how are we going? Guys feeling that a little bit? Okay, let's go ahead and bring the right sitting bone off your block. Let it hang off the right side of the block. Truly think slouch with your right side. Let the sitting bone hang. Right knee is right in front of the hip. Bring your left foot across. Interlace the fingers. I should have said this first. Grab a block in case you're going to need it. All right, and put it behind you on your left. Okay, so that setup was glute, sitting bone, hanging off on the right side. Right side slouches so pelvic bowl can release back. Hip flexors have space. Left leg across the right. Foot and leg meet with equal pressure. Keep this foot flat. Don't let it sickle or do anything funny. Okay, interlace the fingers around the knee. And then just pull with your upper back and leave your pelvic bowl forward. Keep your upper body here. Let your low back release back. Suck the low belly back. Good. Okay? Then you're going to keep the right hand on the knee. Pull it very softly across. Bring your left hand back to your block. Maybe it's on first or second level, whatever works. Or you can just go to the mat with tended fingers. That's fine too. Okay, wherever you're at, I need a rounded spine. So if you're arching, you're coming up and over, you gotta go the other way. You gotta raise your block up. Okay? Suck the belly back. Bend the back elbow a little bit. Keep pulling the leg across very softly, right elbow wide and turned up. Good. Suck the middle abs back. Feel the top of the right foot softly pushing the floor to engage your quad, and then pull your belly away from that. Twist a little deeper from your core. Use the hand that's on the ground of the block to direct you. Inhale. Exhale. Feel that left hand. Roll back. Suck the belly in. Good. And come back forward again. Come on up. Go a little deeper. Keep the knee across the body. So that's low back releasing. Notice if you're shoving pelvic bowl forward, squeezing the back muscles, let that go. Keep the knee coming across, elbow to knee, or you can tuck it up higher toward the armpit. Hands in prayer. Just the other way. Good. Your left hand is going to push down into the right hand, which will push pressure from elbow to knee and twist. At the same time, lean back to your right. Push into the top of the right foot. Right knee goes forward and into the left foot to twist you deeper. Good. Keep the elbows open. Shoulders or collarbone hollowing. Suck belly back. Good. Lots of pressure on top of the right foot to keep you falling right. Lean right. Dare yourself to go further right. Good. And bring it back up. If you want to go deeper, tuck that knee under the armpit even more so that you bring the hand down. Your palm should face right. Your shoulders should be rolled forward. If you can accomplish that, then you can bring the hand through the hole and go for your bind. If you get your bind, roll the shoulder back, trying to pin the knee further across the body. So you have to round in this twist. That's what's good about a bind. Okay, you can come to toes, lift it up. Nobody's got a full bind. Nope, somebody does. You lift the leg up, suck the belly up to get taller. Good. Back okay there? Bring it back down. That's actually not a bad way for you to twist.
Yeah.
You can't use your back.
Yeah.
Good. Get the hand out of there. Good job. All right. Let's go ahead and bring the foot up. You can move to the middle of the blocks if you don't feel stable. Bring the top of the foot to where the leg creases. Drop the leg forward into your half lotus. So you really want to get this foot high. Hold ankle, flexing muscles in the outer foot. That way. So they'll wrap around the leg. Then try to drop the knee forward while lifting low belly away. If you drop the knee forward and you feel like, this isn't going to let go, don't drop it so hard. Slouch, low belly comes back. Maybe even come back to your block. Then drop the knee away once you find that low belly, the rounded low back. Good. Feel a little more space in the hip that way. Good. And bring it up. Okay. Let's go ahead and keep the knee there. Hands come to the mat. If your knee can't touch, that's okay. You can bring the hands back, maneuver yourself up, then put the knee on the mat, even with the right knee. Try to keep this foot actively wrapping around the leg. Even if it slides down, walk your knees a little together. Okay, from here, just a couple cat-cows, but not the way you usually do it. Push through hands to pick ribs up. Okay, drop the head. Feel your hands pull the mat horizontally apart. Pick up middle abs to pick up pelvic bowl. And then release that. Let your hips flatten back. Let your chest drop down. Feel pelvic bowl come to the heel if you're way up there. Good. And go ahead and sit all the way back. Good. Take the foot out of that position. Let's switch sides. Bring the left leg back. Bring the right leg forward. How are we doing? Questions, comments, issues?
No, we just hadn't done this in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting how Jeannie and I both can't do any of it.
Any of
Being
the
that,
parts?
being that we're
What's
both.
interesting about that, my little weightlifting gym? I wonder why your hips are so tight.
It'll take a lot of years.
Oh, well, he's only been like 1. I have lots of faith. All right. Go ahead, let your left sitting bone hang out. That's a very dynamic movement in the hip. That's a rotation through the hip joint and hip flexor opening at the same time. So that's really dynamic. If you like to rotate from your hip flexor, it's not going to happen, right? So your hip flexor has to release. Your rotators aren't even engaged because the foot's being held in the rotation, right? You have to first feel psoas and some of the transverse abdominals, some of the low belly muscles releasing the front of the hip, then drop the knee forward. If you just pull from your glute against the holding hip, you just feel a lot of fighting and maybe a little tremor, and then you go and start to shake, but you're not going to get the knee to drop.
No.
I don't care if you put bricks on it. Those will rip your hip flexor open.
Exactly.
All right. So that's got to be coordination. That's got to be very heady. It's got to be finding this. Whether you lean back to make space. Some people lean back, though, and their hip flexor is like, and try to pull the pelvic bowl forward. So if you have this shape when you're leaning back, that's counterproductive. If you can release, trust this hand. It also depends on your upper body strength, and let the hip fall back, and you get some space in there, like you can fit something in there, as opposed to, I can't even fit a piece of paper in there, which is where the hip wants to live, right? Then you'll be able to start to feel that release more.
Well, considering I never did that all my life.
Right.
I've only been doing it for a year.
Yeah, you're doing pretty well. All right, let's go ahead and move to the left side. And I'm wrong, don't hang your sitting bone yet. Move it in the middle. You're going to bring your body inside the leg first. Now, even just to do that, your body has to negotiate some of the low belly muscles past the muscles in the front of the hip. So I want you to roll to the outside of the right foot a little bit. Lift your low belly just a touch, really soft, and support it with your hands. Then walk your right hand as far forward as you can reach softly and drop the hip open a little further. Feel how your low belly can come out of the front of that hip a little bit? Keeping that, roll back to the inner foot. See if you can drop chest a little deeper. Don't close up that hip flexor. It's in a shortened area. That doesn't mean it has to engage. Bring your right elbow out to the side, in front of the shin, pin it back, hand flat. Left elbow symmetrically wide. Stay rolled to your outer foot a touch. Roll your right shoulder back to pin the hip back. At the same time, think of the ribs going forward. Push into the top of the left foot a little bit. Feel your quad engage a little without squeezing that glute. No glute on the left side. Pick your butt up. Pick your hips up off your block. Good. Keep rolling right shoulder back to plug hip back. Keep using those serratus, top of the head forward, chin in your own throat to get longer in ribs. Okay? Maybe that's where you're going to live. Maybe you can wiggle the foot out of there and pick it up. Bend your right elbow a little bit more to make a good shelf for that leg. Think of opening groin muscles away from each other. As you lean right, you're kind of going into a horizontal split, 180-degree pose. You can lift the left hand easily if you don't have weight in it. Keep top of the head forward. Push into the left foot just a touch, lift your belly. Bring the hand down, bring the foot down, and back to your balls. Okay? There you go, arm crap. Okay, move over to the left side. Left sitting bone, hanging off your block. Good. Slouch. So that's one way to say it, but I guess you really don't think down, because I don't want your ribs to compress here. It's not a slouching just in your thoracic spine. Think of the ribs staying light, maybe a little lift of the middle abs, the transverse abs, inside open ribs. Then, holding onto the leg, let your hips release apart. Let your low back slide. That's good, yeah, okay? From there, see if you can bring the leg across a little easier without your hips being in your way, okay? Then interlace fingers, don't pull with upper back, just keep the same slouch you have. And feel your low belly draw, and the knees softly come toward each other. And feel the knees, the feet, the foot and the knee pull into each other, pulling apart. Keep the left hand there, reach back behind you, maybe you want to use your block if it's not there. Move it over if you want to use your block so your hand can be flat. If you are going to use the block with a flat hand, have your fingers face forward. That forward shoulder rotation helps your ribs open more. Okay? If you're going to use just tented fingers, you can do the same. Bend the elbow a little bit. If you start to feel like you're going up and over your low back, crunching your low back, you need to be higher with your block. So belly has to be back. Shoulder rolling forward helps the ribs round back. Softly open the left elbow, roll that shoulder forward. Top of the head reaches forward, belly sucks back a little bit as you twist. Breathe. Don't twist further than you can. Feel your middle abs. Release the front of the left hip. Don't let it try to come into the twist with you. Good job. And bring it back up. Very nice. Let's get a little deeper there. Start to feel hip release so you can twist low belly away. All right, from there, oh yeah, we're going to go deeper. Bring the knee across. Still keep the front of that hip release. Elbow to knee, or you can go deeper and have the upper arm against the knee. Hands in prayer. Try to make one straight line from elbow to elbow. Really stand in that right foot. You've got weight over it, okay? And then push right hand into left. Open your right elbow up. Hollow your collarbone a little bit so that you can round upper back and make space across ribs, okay? And then keep the pressure from right hand into left to open up those right ribs and lift them out of the right hip. At the same time, lean left. Feel some weight come into the top of that left foot. Let your left quad engage a little without tightening left glute or hip. Left knee reaches forward and into your right foot to twist you deeper. And to release the back of that right hip. Good. Left elbow and right knee meet with equal pressure to help you open the back of the hip. And come on up if you want to go to the next level. Work the knee further up towards your armpit. Okay? You can bring the hand down, palm facing back with the shoulder rolled forward. Then you've got enough room to come through that little hole. Reach your other hand around. Left hand would hold right wrist if you're in this bind. And your left hand pulls down to roll the shoulder open, which opens the ribs more. Good. Suck the belly up in that little space you have between the two. Come onto the toes if you've got your bind. You can lift. And you can try to straighten leg. Roll shoulder back. Lift the belly up. Good job. Bring it down. Let it go. Good. Come on out of it. Let's set up with your block right away for the next part. Put the block next to you on third level. Bring your hips to the middle of your blocks. Bring your left foot up as high as you can on the leg. Okay, and then set your knee on your block. Okay. Now, keep the foot active. Think of being forward first. Maybe your hand comes to the floor. Suck the belly away from the knee away from the belly, really soft. Feel that hip flexor. Notice if there's a little rod here of engagement, you gotta let that go. If you want to try to help, you can push down into your block a little. That'll engage opposing muscles. It won't necessarily engage the top. Okay, let that go. Okay, now bring the knee up. Okay, feel how your hip flexor gets to shorten. Pull the belly away from the hip. Drop the knee back down slow, letting the hip release. Once it touches the boundary, maybe it'll let go all the way. Let's feel that a little bit more. Okay. So that's your object. Pull the low belly out of the hip. Once you really get it, the hip will drop. All right, everybody come on up. Get the knee to the ground. Okay, keep the foot wrapping around the leg. Hands under shoulders. Let's inner spiral arms. Biceps face in. Keep the foot active. Kick the ribs up by pressing through the hands. Then lift your middle abs up. Knees hugging a little bit. Low belly lifting up out of pelvic floor. Good. Then you're going to go the other way. Let hips release. Sitting bones come apart, knees pull apart on the mat, let your ribs drop down into shoulder room. Slowly sit back, hips get long. Come your blocks. Okay. Rest your elbows on the knees for right now. On top. Let your hands hang down on the inside. Okay, feet are parallel. Heels are as wide as toes. If you feel a lot in the knee, you can mix that. If you feel a little in the knee, that's okay. You can stretch knees if you need to at some point. Okay, go ahead and tip your blocks forward. Okay, if you feel too short, walk your feet a little further forward. Okay, then I want you to feel your elbows softly pull the knees apart, really soft. Roll your shoulder heads to touch forward, lift your low belly up, out of the front of the legs. Really odd, but supports your back. Once the back release. Okay, now think of lengthening forward. Bring your ribs long inside the groin. Top of the head forward, chin up into your own throat. Feel the feet, the ball of the foot, all the metatarsals running across the knuckles and the ball of the foot into the mat. Lift the toes a millimeter, spread them out. Roll to the inner feet. Feel your groin, feel your low belly. Now roll to the outer feet as much as you can. Feel outer hips, try to release in the low back and low belly. Good. Drop the head a little further forward now. Once you're long, then you can hang. You want to feel a deeper hip and back stretch, bring up hands to the head. Hang, pulling very softly. I can pull and just hang down. Keep a little lift in your low belly. Keep just enough pressure in your feet to have quads a little engaged, but no extra pressure. Move your ribs over to the left groin. Reach the right elbow forward. Right serratus coming open. Right ribs open. Come over to the right. It's just a movement, side to side. It's not a twist. Reach your left elbow forward. Left hip back. Come back to the middle. Hands to the mat. Roll it up. Bring your blocks down. Good. Oh, yeah. Low back and hips open there. Good. All right. Let's go ahead and come on with your blocks. Bring the blocks open behind you. Hold your shoulders in isolation today without having everything else going on. I'm going to turn around so I can see you. Don't lose track of time. Okay. Blocks as wide as your mat. Try to make the blocks even. That's a nice part of using the blocks is that you know your hands are even if your blocks are even. Okay, you can use the mirror on the ceiling if that helps you. Okay. Then all 5 fingers facing forward. Try to get the pinky off of the outside of the block wrapped and the thumb off the inside and fingers really spreading, okay? And you're going to feel like your hand is twisting the block on the ground. It's not going to move because it's on your mat, but you learn to really use and engage the hands to help you feel some of the muscles in the shoulders that run up that network. Okay, so pinky on the outside, thumb on the inside, feet close, pick your hips up, bring it to your sacrum, bring the hips under, okay? And you cannot have your elbows past your hands. You're just sunk into the neck at that point. You got to stay lifted, which is part of it. You also have to be far enough forward, which is the other part. Okay? Shoulders roll forward and hands push down to lift you up out of the shoulder girdle. Neck long, top of the head to the ceiling. Good. Keep that lift, keep that press. Don't bend your elbows back. Don't go very far. If the first thing that wants to happen is your shoulders run and roll back, you're losing the stretch. Keep the shoulders forward while you bend the elbows back. Think of your elbows going wide. And you're spinning in, thumb back, pinky into your body, okay, opening the elbows. Okay, keep shoulder heads rolled forward, keep pressure in the thumb side of the hand. Now be patient till the muscles in the back start to open, till the ribs start to spread across. Inhale. Exhale, let's check in with the hips. Roll forward, really heavy on the tailbone. It's round, it will roll, it doesn't take much. Now to come back, feel like your feet are softly pushing the mat forward. That's slight quad engagement. Keep the hips released, let them roll back. Back of the ribs release, but don't die into the neck. Keep the pressure in the hands. You're trying to round this point of your ribs further back. Okay? Do it again. Roll forward. Okay, and then roll back. Shoulders forward, hands pressing. Press into the hands to come up. This is where we're doing hands today. Got to come all the way till the arms straighten. Shoulders still forward, and the base of the hand probably has to lift. Good. Keep your belly lifted inside open ribs. Yes, keep a little engagement there. Okay, now roll forward soft, keeping the belly engaged. All the way forward to sitting bones. Roll the shoulders up and back to pick up ribs. Keep the middle abs lifting up inside the ribs here. It's not an arch in your low back, it's a lift in your middle belly, chin and knee. Now roll heavy on the hips. Shoulders roll forward. Let your hips drop back before your ribs close. Bend elbows out to the sides. Really open. opening the back of the ribs, dropping down into that stretch. Good job. One more time. Press into the hands, shoulders forward, neck long. Once the arms are straight, roll to the top of the sitting bones. Don't use your low back a lot though, don't go that far. Roll shoulders back, shoulder blades, pick up the ribs. Lift your middle abs a little bit, neck is long. Then start rolling hips back first, keep ribs open. Then roll shoulders forward, let your middle back release. Good job. Very nice, come up, turn the hands around. How are we doing? It's a big shoulder stretch. Okay. Fingers face backwards, try not to straighten your arms and hyperextend and put a bend in your elbows right off the bat. Roll your shoulders forward, your elbows go wide. If they're rolled in, you're holding the back of the shoulders. We're trying to open the back of the shoulders and the front. Keep elbows wide, pinky side of the hand on the inside, the block thumb on the outside now. As you bend your elbows, you're going to sit back. I'm a little short, see how my elbows can pass my hands. Most people will be when you turn your hands around. Pushing the hands, bring hips under a little further. Okay? You want to eventually get to a 90-degree angle from upper to lower arm here with the shoulder heads forward and with pressure in the thumb knuckles, so the bottom two thumb knuckles. Keep hips released. They should be easy to move side to side, forward and back. Okay? Press into the hands to come to straight arms. If you know you can hyperextend, don't straighten fully. Lift your low belly, open the ribs a little, then roll on the hips, easy. Then roll shoulder blades behind ribs to pick ribs up, keep the belly lifted. If you can go further, outer spiral arms so biceps face out, elbows bend in toward each other, keeping the middle abs lifted, don't crunch your back. Release the front of the hips, that's not what's keeping you forward. Okay. Roll the shoulders forward a bit, bend elbows soft, hold. Let your ribs open and your low back release. Then start rolling back. Then the elbows out to the sides, shoulder heads forward, little pressure in your thumbs, and then wait till the ribs hang deeper, back ribs opening more. Breathe. Keep pressure in hands so you don't go into your neck. This time roll on the hips easy. Don't close the front of the hips when your hips roll forward. And then softly roll back. Okay, press through the hands to come to straight arms or almost straight. Roll on your hips, middle abs sucking inside open ribs. Roll shoulders back. You can outer spiral arms and bend elbows toward each other, but then let hips release. They don't need to be that far forward. Once your shoulder blades are there, that's keeping ribs. There you go. Nice job. Okay. Roll the shoulders forward, put a baby bend in elbows, then hold. Lift the middle abs up, open ribs a little, don't close. Roll on your tailbone heavy, let your lumbar spine release first, then open elbows, let your upper spine start to release more. Good. And come all the way up. How are you doing? Okay. Move your blocks aside. Well, let's keep holding them at the top of the mat. Let's see what do I have time to do. No block. Red ball and bolster. Bolster is going to go under the legs. Red ball is going to go behind the back. Okay, and bring your strap nearby. We'll see how greedy I get for time. Alright, so, bolster under the legs. Alright, put the ball against the lumbar spine and then roll it back over. Probably not. Not with the amount of time we have. Okay, I can skip it. Okay, roll the ball back, at least a half roll, but maybe a little bit more. Okay, so what we normally do is that half roll just to get it under floating ribs and lumbar spine is free. This time, think of going a touch further back. So your shoulder blades are on top of the ball, they're not falling off the back too much. Your shoulder blades can come down and kind of squeeze the ball. Alright, bring your hands behind the head. Your legs can go over the pillow. Keep the quads release, legs release, let your legs roll. Okay? Think of squeezing the base of the hand in, almost pulling fingers apart to clamp in on the base of the head. Bring your hands up the back of the head. So pull the back of the head up toward the ceiling. It'll drop your chin into your own throat. Makes my voice weird. Elbows are where you can see them, so you're not squeezing shoulders together. Shoulder blades are around the side of ribs. Once they're around the side of the ribs, they slide down to the ball. Not back to the neck, down to the ball. Then release your hips. They don't need to hold you there. You got a ball to lay on it. Okay. Now to go back, you want to keep that opposition between serratus, keeping shoulder blades down and forward. That puts pressure from hands into the head. At the same time, chin drops back, neck drops back into your hands, like you're flattening the neck into a wall behind you. Keep that opposition and to drop back, let your ribs open. Your thoracic spine curves over the ball with the neck long. sharp angle at the base of the skull, or at the base of the neck. Keep ribs opening, only go back as far as you can. Your neck should be parallel to the floor. Don't lift your chin up and crunch the neck. To come up, it's serratus pulling into the ball. Do not close your ribs and try to bring it as one piece. That won't feel good in your back. Keep the hips released. If you tuck hips to meet you, you can't come forward. Your pubic bone stays forward. Keep bringing the head forward. Once you're up and your head is forward, the shoulder blades can slide forward with core pulling back into the red ball. Stay leaning into your red ball. The object is not to come off of it. One more time. Shoulder blades draw down the body into the red ball. That keeps head forward. Then start dropping back. Neck parallel to the floor when you drop back. Ribs opening out of the hips. Feel serratus holding on to outer ribs and pulling them open. They do that. That's how they help with breathing. They do that if you make them do that. Okay. Inhale with ribs open. Now as you exhale, very softly sink the low belly. Don't try to close your ribs. That will hurt here. Shoulder blades kind of stab down the body into your red ball, and you use that as leverage to bring just your head up. Neck feels like it's on a hinge. Then once the head starts coming up, hips staying released, your middle abs can bring the floating ribs down, but don't close them together. Head coming forward, feel the back of the ribs opening down. Good. Push your bolster forward with your feet out to the edge of it, and then you're going to hop the hips forward. Now I want the ball between the shoulder blades, right behind them. Okay. Hands under the head. Elbows toward each other. Okay, shoulder blades stab straight down into the ball. Almost feel like shoulder blades are in front of the ball now. Open up the feet. Your feet should be on the corner of your bolster. Bolster is far enough away so that your knees can drop open. Feet turn out, arches on the corners, on the sides. Then go ahead and drop back. This time we're going to let you disengage your serratus. Reach your shoulder blades up and back. Elbows reach next to the face like railroad tracks back. They don't squeeze in on the head. They reach back. Feel how that helps open your ribs a little. They should be loose and free. Okay. Now keeping the ribs open. Feel your ribs flare. Maybe a little bit of serratus pulling down to help with that. A little pressure in feet. Try to roll on tailbone to roll the belly. And then let that go. Hips release forward. Do it again. Try to roll pelvic bowl back without closing ribs. And then release hips forward. Keep the neck long. Hands are holding neck long. Don't let that chin pop to the ceiling. Low belly pulling back. If you keep your neck long, it helps you open your ribs. And then roll the pubic bone forward. Last one. Keeping neck long, ribs open. Roll pelvic bowl back without closing ribs. They'll just get in the way. And then roll forward. Now keeping pubic bone forward. Shoulder blades pull into the ball. Neck stays long. Just your head comes up first. Then let your upper back start to release, dropping in front of the ball. Release the head, neck, hips. Soft. Good. Bring the legs up. Very nice. Hop the hips forward again. Good. Keep the feet wide on your bolster. This time, let's go ahead and bring your left elbow to the mat. Slide it out wide. Keep the forearm parallel to the side of the mat. Bring your elbow back a little bit to help you open the side of the ribs. Open up those left ribs. Okay, then you're going to lift your outer arch of your left foot. The whole inner foot stays down. Bring the left knee to the right and forward to the bolster. Your right forearm can be more behind the head than the hand. Drop back over your ball. Try to keep your spine as much, or your shoulder blade as much on the middle of the ball as you can. Don't let your head go left. Your head stays middle. Your hip reaches forward. Good. Left knee forward, left hip reaching forward. Now use your right serratus. Pull the right elbow forward and bring your head up right in the middle. Let your ribs drop into the mat, but keep the hip reaching forward soft. And then let the head drop back again. Ribs open. Last one. Use the serratus to bring just the head up. Let your sternum drop heavy. Hips stay forward. Good. Slowly bring that hip back up. Right knee coming in. Come back to the middle. Don't have to stretch your hips. Hip flexor. Switch. Left forearm under the head. Right elbow out to the side. Think of rolling on your ball. Bring your right rib cage to the mat. Try to get the right ribs to rest. Lift the outer arch of your right foot. Drop the knee across to the left. Okay. Lay back over the ball. Keep your head a little left, but your ribs are still right. Reach the hip forward. If you need to move your left foot to the floor, you can. Okay. Then use your left serratus. Pull that shoulder blade down the body. Bring the head up from the force of serratus pushing forearm into head, let your ribs drop deeper.
So why does that feel so good on my bursa?
Because the leg is inner spiraling, which means the femur is opening away from the sitting bone and tailbone, taking space right there where that bursa is.
Right,
Feel that?
yes.
It's inner spiraling and reaching, both. And the foot's being held up by the bolster with that inner spiral.
Oh,
so you
yeah,
can't
yeah.
squeeze both.
Right.
Okay, roll with it back up and come back to the middle. Good. Now let's roll forward until the neck arcs with the ball. Okay? So you're a little bit facing forward, okay? Then elbows out to the sides and high. Good. Push the bolster a little further forward. Drop the knees into each other. Lift the outer feet. Drop right knee in, reach the right hip forward, and then switch. Just feel knees graze past each other. Try to feel that soft movement back and forth through the hips. Don't really close the ribs or try to overly stabilize them. Notice your ribs can move within the shoulder girdle too. Shoulder heads are rolled forward to try to make sternum heavy down into the mat. Let your ribs be heavy into the mat as the hip reaches away. Feel the spine right between the shoulder blades into the mat. Good job. And then end in the middle. Push your ball further back so it's just under the neck now and your eyes are very decidedly gazing forward. You cannot look up at our ceiling mirrors anymore. You really have to push the head into the ball. Okay, bring your legs over your bolster, let them release. Okay, you can put it all the way down to the calf where your resting place is going to be. Okay, good. Let your legs roll out. Okay. Play with your quads real quick here. You should be rested in your neck. Think of straightening the legs from your quads without engaging anything else. Your legs are barely hanging down the bolster, so it's not going to take much. All you're lifting is your lower leg and foot. Don't lift the leg off the bolster, then let that go. Do just one of them. Feel the quad. Think of the leg as flattening into bolster. Let it go. Do the other one. Feel just your quad. Now pull your toes back. Pull the whole foot back. Okay, now reach the ball of the foot forward. Keep your toes pulled back. Try to feel that quad shorten a little more. Let it go. Do the other one. Lift the lower leg. Reach the toes back to you. Good. Now reach the ball of the foot forward. Keep the toes back. Feel that quad a little more. And let it go. Now release the hips forward. Bring arms up right above your forehead. You can't see them. They're just out of your eyesight. Then let your shoulders drop down. They will drop a little bit back to the ball, to the ears a little, because your rib cage is fatter where the floating ribs are than it is where the collarbone is. So if you really let the shoulders release, the shoulder blade way up here by the cervical spine will drop back too and soften away from the spine. Keep chin back into the ball, neck long like you're pushing ball back. Slowly keeping palms facing in. Let the arms drop back, really soft, really easy. Don't lock elbows. Feel how that opens up the sides, stretches the neck. As you breathe, think chin into your own throat, ribs open, inhale. Exhale, let that air leak out. Let your ribs drop, reach the thumbs away, keep them aimed toward the ground. Slowly bring the arms back up, keep neck long, heavy into the ball. Let shoulders release into the mat. And release your hands up to the side. Get rid of the ball first. Should feel really good to laying flat. For your final resting pose. Let's see, one more little thing playing with shoulder blades. Arms up. Can't resist. Let your shoulders drop. Same thing. They will come up a little toward the ears. That's okay. Let the shoulders release, heavy into the mat. Keep palms facing in because that's the rotation in the arms. Now take the arms back super slow. All you're doing is using your serratus under the arms to slow the descent against the pull of gravity. Once you're about halfway back, chin down, neck goes longer. Feel how your ribs can open a little bit. Low belly lifts out of the pelvic floor, out of the front of the hips. Let your legs outer spiral soft. Let that go. Inhaling with open ribs, chin down, neck long. Exhale, feel your ribs softly draw toward each other. Keep the arms elevated just a touch and reaching away. Release your hips, don't tuck. Bring the arms back up. The shoulders soften again. Good. And bring your arms straight up to the sides. Good. You're going to start to feel that shoulder blade release, neck release. Alright, here we go. Inhale, long but soft. As you exhale, let the eyes roll back into the back of the head and the middle of the forehead. Soften the muscles in the head, the face. Let your jaw release. Try to feel it spreading across the forehead, across the brow, the bridge of the nose. Try to feel it spreading across the base of the tongue, the jawline, and between the ears at the base of the skull. Keep the facial muscles very relaxed. Let everything go. On your next inhale, try to inhale a little longer, stay soft. Feel your ribcage expand in all directions. Hold that air in, calm brain, don't panic. Soften whatever's gripping that doesn't need to be, and then as you exhale, feel your ribs soften back down into that. Open up the hands, spread fingers, spread toes. Inhale, arms up. Same thing we did before. Let the shoulders drop. As the arms go back down, shoulder blades come under ribs and lift them a little. Get long. Sink low belly. And then exhale. One more big breath like that. Inhale. Hands up, hover an inch above the mat. Reach long. Exhaling. Inhale back up. Good. You can either roll to one side to sit up and stack hips and ribs, or bring the arms forward, a continuation of what we were just doing. Shoulder blades come around ribs, middle abs draw a little. Roll the head up. And then one vertebrae at a time coming up, or sucking back. Come forward, and just lay over your bolster for a minute. Put the hips and back release. You can get the chin to the bolster, you can put the chin up in front of the bolster, pull back on it, top of the head forward, will help you lengthen your spine forward. And roll it up. Find a comfortable seated position for your own. You can sit on your bolster if you want. You can sit in half lotus or full lotus, log stacking pose. You can just sit cross-legged, whatever works. Okay. Once you're in your posture, check in with your spine. Do you have to really sit forward into the pelvic bowl and close the front of the hips to be stable, or can you release a little bit? And just think about the core coming up inside pelvic bowl, inside open ribs. Think of pelvic bowl as a little hula hoop, ribs as a little hula hoop, little light ray, waterfall, whatever you want to think of, that's open in there. Okay, a little energy flow through there. Okay, we're going to do the breath we always do. Inhaling soft, ribs expand as you breathe in. Start with an ah sound in the jaw, go to ooh, releasing facial muscles, save enough breath for to vibrate through the core as you lift pelvic floor, pushing air out. Then try to stay empty, re-expand the ribs again, and you'll kind of gasp for air after that. Here we go. Inhale long with soft. Don't arch your back. Om. And one last time. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
How we doing? Getting dark earlier.
Have a fun weekend.
Thank you very much.
Have a great
No class
time.
Saturday, guys. Very good job. Questions, comments?